Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural episode of Superintendent Unplugged, In Depth with Davis, the podcast where we'll dive deep into the world of educational leadership. I'm your host, Addison Davis, and I'm thrilled to have you join me as we embark on the inspiring journey together. As a superintendent once myself, I understand the challenges and complexities that come with leading a school district. But what I've come to realize is that there's abundance of amazing work being done by superintendents all across our country. This podcast is a platform to shine a spotlight on their incredible accomplishments and innovative approaches. Each episode will bring you exclusive interviews and superintendents from various districts across our country, both big and small, urban and rural, as they share their personal stories, triumphs, and even their moments of vulnerability. We will explore the strategies they employ to tackle the ever-evolving landscape of education, from fostering equity and inclusivity to embracing technology and preparing students for their future. But this podcast isn't just about showcasing success. It's about fostering a community of educational leaders who can learn from one another, share their experiences, and collectively navigate the complexities of our role. We'll discuss the tough topics as well, the difficult decisions, and the innovative solutions that are transforming education for the better. So while you're an educator, a parent, a student, or simply someone who's passionate about education, this podcast is for you. Superintendents Unplugged is your behind-the-scenes pass to the world of educational leadership, where we uncover the stories that inspire, motivate, and empower every one of us. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and entertained as we embark on this incredible journey together. I can't wait to introduce you to the remarkable superintendents who are changing the educational landscape one district at a time. Welcome to another episode of Superintendents Unplugged, In Depth with Davis. I'm your host, Addison Davis. Also, we have with us today Todd Lamb, a member, partner of Strategos, also has a podcast called On the Clock. Doing them both today. And also we have a special guest at the Age of Learning in Glendale, California at the Leadership Forum, bringing some of the brightest minds around the country to be able to have greater conversation, to be able to accelerate learning for children. Baninder Goomer, thank you so very much for being here from Edison Township in New Jersey.
That's right.
You know, cool place. And so far, how's the conference going?
Honestly, it's been amazing. I didn't know what to expect when I came yesterday, but it was just really refreshing to meet other leaders and listen to how they're doing things and just advancing their districts.
Yeah, you know what? It's fascinating, to be able to have growing conversations with leaders that do some of the special work that you do every single day. I know we get so laser focused in the four walls we call our classroom, our district,
Yes.
our communities that, we talk about, enemies are time, we don't have time to engage. But, I commend Age of Learning for creating spaces like that have true professional learning communities to actively engage, listen, and learn. And from your side, driving the work in elementary is so important. And we talked about pre-conversation. I was a secondary teacher. I was a secondary principal, so, then transitioned to a middle school principal, then the elementary. So I went kicking and screaming to the elementary side of it because I didn't know how to do it. I had to learn it. But what I learned is that in education, you have to be a pre-K through 12th grade leader, and elementary being so important. So you're in this space. Why elementary, and what's the impact look like in education for you?
So I actually went kicking and screaming to my first teaching job, which was K through 2, because I had done all my student teaching in middle school and high school.
Yeah. What'd you teach?
I taught English as a second language at the
I
time.
got you.
We called it.
Right.
I ended up loving it because the kids are just so malleable at that age, and to be fair, they made me laugh every day. And to me, that was super important. I was never one of those keep my facade up people, and so I laughed with them. And then actually, as I progressed, I became a principal, but I also was a supervisor K through 12.
Okay.
And I've been lucky enough to be in this elementary position. Not many districts have it in New Jersey. And it allows us to be really focused on the kids that are and their developmental stages and the foundational skills. We're doing things in our elementary schools that other districts are simply not able to do because we have a dedicated team. And that is invaluable, to be honest with you. Everything is focused on what we're doing with the little ones, essentially.
The importance of, looking at pre-K opportunities, 3-year-old, 4-year-old programs, but focusing on, as in elementary, it's primary and intermediate. How there's coherence from both. How are you surgical about what a curriculum that you adopt from that continuum, what services you provide, how strong is Tier 1, what the foundational skills may be, whether it be through numeracy or literacy. What a cool opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. And for New Jersey, we're a large district, not compared to many other districts in the nation. However, we've really been quite collaborative in bringing all of the schools together. When I first came into the position, everyone was a big silo. It was just everybody
decentralized and doing what they want, when they want, how they want, what they were using, all of it.
Yes,
that's hard.
There was a large amount of competition between the buildings, so it wasn't necessarily a great collaborative atmosphere.
So not healthy competition.
No.
Okay.
And so we've worked really hard to make sure that everybody is consistent, but has a voice.
Sure.
And it's taken time. It took a lot of relationship building and trust. Because they didn't trust each other, they didn't trust the leadership, and so it really meant a lot when I included teachers, parents, students, and administrators in all of our conversations.
That's a perfect segue, Todd. We talk about the engagement, parent engagement, what that looks like.
I know a little something about this. The parental engagement is some, I've heard anecdotally things I've never heard before in any district in the country. Parents are at the doors asking for books during the summertime to get the kids read up on those books in advance of school year.
So we have
is that your doings?
We have two very distinct populations in Edison, and one is very typical of many other school districts in the state and the nation, and the other side is just as you mentioned. So we've had to change the way we think.
Sure.
For example, one of the things was that we were originally using the COGAT test to screen students for gifted and talented programs. But what we found out was that parents were getting a hold of the test. And so they were tutoring their students on the testing. Yeah. And we've actually changed many of our programs to become more inquiry-based and to build that more, especially in math, the conceptual understanding, which
perfect.
I went to school a few months ago, and was speaking with a 5th grade student. And I said, tell me about the math program, because we're always reassessing what we're doing. And I like to listen to it from kids. I like to listen about it from everyone. And the kid said, oh, yeah, I do go to Kumon, so I'm doing 7th grade math. And I said, okay, so is it boring for you in the classroom because, you're in 5th grade? And I was so happy because the kid said no, because in Kumon, we don't really understand why we're doing what we're doing. But in the school, we're understanding why things are the way they are. And I was like, okay, we did our job.
Yeah. Perfect. Major difference between computing and conceptually understanding.
Correct. And that's something that we have struggled with those populations. I am of Indian origin. I understand where it comes from. But there's also a different cultural understanding of what school is and what comes out of it. So our parents are very grade focused. And it has been a very interesting journey. It's taken almost 6 years for us to do standards-based grading because we had to start it in kindergarten, roll it up,
it's all looping.
And we had to make sure we educated parents along the way. We're at the point where we're K through 4 now with standards-based. 5th grade, we're not going to do standards-based, but we're hoping to do some hybrid where there is a grade attached. But to me, you can't do grading without standards-based because you're not understanding mastery of the standards.
In the green room, that's big time podcast talk right there in the room. We were talking earlier, and she told me that a second grade parent asked her.
Oh, no. Kindergarten.
A kindergarten parent said, what do we need to do to get him into Harvard?
Yes.
And he wasn't joking.
No, not joking at all.
What was your answer?
I said, listen, I know where you're coming from.
I'd love to have those parents.
I understand where you're coming from, but right now we just want to make sure that your child can function in school,
can interact, have soft skills, can adjust, can think independently, can productively grapple.
And luckily, because I have the cultural knowledge, I was able to explain to them that the statistic I was telling you before is that most of our students actually still go to the largest state university in New Jersey. And so there's all this pressure put on the kids, but then ultimately they all end up in the same place, right? So
the Black Knights at Rutgers.
That's right. Yeah. Which we won. We're now 4-0. Last
Coaches, who did they beat the other day? Was it a last minute win or something? I don't know.
Well, they almost lost it. I was there that night, but it's okay. We were talking about that.
We're dating this podcast. When you hear it, you might be like 11-0 or 5-7. So
we're not talking about that. Like, that is not going to happen.
I mean, I think that it's a great problem to have parents who are actively engaged, but I think the more that we coach them about what engagement looks like, hopefully the better expectations we're able to set and lean them to be involved at being they're the first educators, but being involved for the right reasons, right? For the development of a learner, to understand the readiness level, and build thoughtful plans as a partner and collaborator with you and your team to be able to meet the growing needs and the readiness level of the students.
Yeah, and our goals are actually slightly different for our students, right? So the population I talked about before, that is more typical of what most school districts see, we tend to work more with them on the skills and content knowledge that are very typical. However, with the kids that are from our more wealthier population that is of Indian origin, we find that we have to work with them a little bit more on critical thinking and synthesis. And it's interesting because when I do go interview students, the ones that are not always performing academically are able to have these intense and deep conversations with me about how they perceive the world or what they're learning. And the ones that are from the more affluent area, they can often pinpoint nor verbalize what it is that they're feeling. They are lockstep in what they're supposed to do. Right? So it's an interesting dilemma that we have going on, and what it forces me to do is it's very difficult sometimes to pick programs or determine curriculum that suffices for everyone, right? Because we've got such a large difference between our populations.
I mean, that's unique. Every school has their unique perspective and their unique footprint. So I get it for identifying a strong tier 2. But there may be additional supplemental tier 1. Supplemental materials that you may need to adopt and at different locations that make a lot of sense.
So one of the things we did actually with our Gifted and Talented program is that I have always. Here's another example of our affluent areas and the stigmas that are prescribed. When I was a principal, I had a second grade student who we found out was being bullied by a third grade student. And it was a student that I had a relationship with. And so I said to him, why didn't you tell me that this was happening? Because this was a kid I spoke with very often. And he said, well, that kid is G&T. And I said, okay. And there was
more green room, more
gifted and talented.
And so it was just interesting to me because I realized how much this label meant to families, right? And what a stigma there is behind not being G&T. But we've changed our program now. And so we actually go into classrooms and do critical thinking units, which is our G&T program with all grade levels.
Love that.
Every kid gets it for a section of the year because also my other issue is that we know like our special education students, our English language learners, they don't get access to that thinking that we think that only our highest level students can do, which is not the case. right? We have our kids who may just have ADHD or just can't get through the phonics, but their thinking is so high level. And so I really felt this at a deep level, that we're allowing our students to build and create, but it's our high level students. So we have sort of this hybrid model now where we do this piece where we make sure we go into every classroom and do this, but then we also have changed our criteria where we are taking those kids who are genuinely gifted, and we're screening them through the Renzulli platform, which is more about your talents and all different, your ability to think. And we're using that to determine who our kids are that are really thinking outside the box and beyond. And it's been fantastic. We're always tweaking. We changed a few units this summer. We added kindergarten. We did not have kindergarten previously, but now we are doing in kindergarten as well. The teachers love it. The kids love it. Our gifted and talented teachers who go in to do these units with the teachers, they love it too. So it's been such an amazing program, and I feel like we're just going to continue to build that in.
That's awesome.
I feel like she's missing out on a real revenue opportunity. 9-part Netflix series, Rich Kids at Edison.
Perfect.
We try to pitch it, additional revenue for the district, right?
I have to be honest with you. We always say we need a reality show.
Yeah.
Like a central office and everything that
everybody
happens in the
wearing
schools
around,
every day.
like where back in the day, where are they now? VH1 carrying around, So what an awesome. First of all, I love the fact that you're continue to expand the different thinking opportunities for students regardless of their readiness levels. I think I commend you for that. Most people stay at high level, leave high level, and I think the more that we expose students to certain level of engagements in content, that they'll show up for us.
Sure.
So it says about a lot about who you are from a core values perspective, and also we wish you nothing but the best of luck of dealing with your parents that they actively engage. It sounds like you are masterful with that process. And keeping them focused on the child versus egos or anything outside of that work. And listen, I get it, but again, we can't thank you enough for what you do every single day. We're so jealous of the work that you do, and you're doing special work for kids, and also protecting the working conditions of adults, which I know is so important in your district.
Yeah.